Hey guys, Stock Saturday, and I got a free share during the week, so I think people are getting into Trading212 at long last, so I'll put the share link there. Not too bad a week, up about 4,000 overall, pretty good. Been a bit of a mixed bag. My Atalaya mining, the newest one, has come down quite a bit, fairly early on. The sort of buy into copper has been coming right down. Still fairly happy with the company. Similar with sort of Glencore, looking to buy that. So, yeah, was early on that. Fair enough. Hive blockchain coming up quite a bit. Wondering whether this is the Ethereum merge getting delayed. So, people sort of were thinking their income from Ethereum was sort of going to drop off a cliff. But that's going to go on a little longer, and Bitcoin sort of slightly up, so Argo's up as well. Pan American silver down because silver has been getting really hit, so no surprise there. And the Chinese tech not doing too bad. But yeah, so not a huge amount, about £1,500 I think move in this lot up overall, so that was pretty good. Looking at the ISA, so yeah, no pies in this anymore. I switched to the ARC genomic tracker. Overall, this is down about £700, so we'll see what that is mostly. But yeah, the REITs sort of largely flat. Argo, as I say, having a fairly good week, but obviously on the long term, we're still a long way to go. They did come out with their sort of video Q&A after their annual general meeting and sort of trying to sort of dampen concerns, but yeah, I would still say that they're sort of mining at very small profit overall, including sort of share-based compensation and sort of all the staff and everything. I think they'll try and highlight direct mining costs, so sort of depreciation of the cards and, you know, buying new cards and electricity cost, but I think they're kind of ignoring operational sort of expenses, paying all the staff and diluting shares. Just the small amount to pay staff, not the sort of big dilutions. But yeah, so I'm not buying. The ARC genomic tracker so far has been going pretty well. I switched to this from my sort of pie of all 30 odd, 40 odd stocks. And so it's showing green. Obviously, this is well read. I had about sort of nearly £4,000 in this, in all of the stocks combined. So it's got a long way to go, but I was kind of hoping to sort of add more on that later on. But yeah, it's done well for the week. Bitcoin ETP, as I say, Bitcoin sort of a little up off the lows, but nothing to get really excited about. Digital Realty not doing particularly well, and as I say, First Majestic down with the silver price. Sylvania, bit of a surprising one. This is causing, obviously, the bulk of the decline this week. Has now put me into the red overall, because I sort of topped up a fair bit above this recently. Not really sure what the reason for the decline is. I think it's just being a very small cap. It sort of doesn't take a lot to move it up or down. I mean, the metals prices are sort of broadly flat, really. Rhodium sort of maybe down a little. Palladium up recently this week. So, yeah, a little bit strange. Fairly sort of big dividend coming later in the year, I would have thought. And the chip shortage, there's sort of talks that it's easing a little bit more. Car manufacturers are saying they're getting their chips quicker than expected. So if you get sort of petrol and diesel car production back online, then would expect the metals to do well. So yeah, can't see anything too bad with them. And yeah, my little short Nasdaq position obviously has been not doing too well because the Nasdaq has been picking up. So it's a small position, obviously, not too bothered about that. Nice hedge sort of if things do come down again, because I am building up a little cash position. So I sold off Apple. Been sort of talking about this for a little while. Sort of hasn't really dropped nearly as much as some of the other tech stocks, and sort of in the past week come up another 5.78%. The earnings estimates for sort of next 12 months are coming down ever so slightly, and yeah, I think it sort of brings them to like 24 forward PE. Just seems a hell of a lot. It's more than sort of Google. I would sort of consider Google as a pretty much a better company in most respects. Obviously, Apple have their sort of product launches later in the year, so people might be getting a little excited about that, but I'm not particularly. So, yeah, decided to sell that one off, and yeah, it's just staying as cash at the moment. I'll probably still setting aside sort of £1,600 of this to potentially withdraw and put into crypto, but yeah, other than that, it's sort of sitting there still waiting to be deployed. Been a good move so far. Everything's sort of been coming down that I wanted to buy while I've been sitting on this cash, so not the worst decision. So that's the spike at sort of little spike downwards at the end of the week here. It's not a drop, it's just me selling Apple. So actually up sort of probably about £2,300 overall if you include the Apple money. Yeah, and some of the tech stocks sort of doing particularly well. Google nearly up 10% for the week. Barrett Development's pretty flat. So I think the tech stocks is sort of partly on the good job numbers from the US. I think they're sort of expecting interest rates probably still to come down, but the sort of fears of recession, I guess, are a little lowered if the jobs numbers are good, but then the interest rate rise could potentially cause a recession. I think people don't really know what to think at the moment. Broadcom still doing okay, 4% up. eBay, really do sort of want to get a little bit of a spike up just to sell this off. It's not really a position I'm sort of looking to hold, even though they're doing a ton of buybacks, but I'm not all that bullish on the company anymore. But just hoping they might sort of bounce with the rest of the sort of tech stocks, and I'd probably sell that off, but not yet. Glencore sort of had a tremendous spike down during the week with sort of a capitulation on the copper price. So could have maybe deployed some of my cash around here. Sort of was thinking about it, but I didn't, and it's come back up again. So I'm just going to hold out, see if we get another dip lower, sort of interest rate rise coming up at the end of the month. Himax hasn't really been coming up with the tech stocks. That is really, really low now. Obviously, without the $1.25 dividend that was sort of went ex-dividend recently. So sort of on the month, you would add sort of $1.25 to today's current price. But yeah, looks really good. I mean, I might just sort of put some of this ahead of time during this week. Obviously, it hasn't come up sort of as everything else has. Intel 5% up, not too bad, but still down. The Japan ETF not doing too bad at all, 2% up this week. Another one that I'm looking to sell off. So if this sort of doesn't move too much and the others come back down again, that will go. I know I keep saying it every week. Lennar 5% up on the week. This is very strange. I mean, since they announced their sort of fairly poor guidance, it's been nothing but up. So people are sort of shrugging it off, even though they did have a good quarter. Meta Platforms, 6.8% up on the week. Again, sort of come down to the sort of high 150s, mid 150s. Maybe should have bought, but I'll give it a little bit more time. Micron, sort of similar, 10% up on the week, 10.6. So I think that's probably got a little bit further back down to come. Sort of extremely high downgrades on their earnings. Sort of next year coming down from, I think it was like $12 to $6.50, I think, which was a little bearish. I do think the analysts sort of are a bit unsure what to make of Micron. I mean, 7 days ago they were thinking $12 odd. Now they're saying $6 for next year. Don't believe that much has changed in the last 7 days. So, yeah, probably take their estimates with a pinch of salt. Nintendo up slightly. Porsche, yeah, 7.8% up. I mean, I did buy a little, about £1,100 worth, but was sort of hoping to top this up a little bit more. So, again, might sort of wait to hold this one out a little longer. Process still doing well, 5% up. Like I say, I do sort of start to wonder if they're going to be selling off a reasonable amount of their 10-cent holding, whether I sort of just sell this and buy 10-cent, sort of 31% up now on the last month. It's sort of outperforming 10-cent quite a bit, even on the sort of 3 months with 10-cent coming down. So, yeah, considering that, obviously I do like the sort of valuation gap between all their assets and the sort of emerging market exposure, but I do mainly hold it for 10-cent. Rio Tinto, pretty flat. Samsung sort of released reasonably good figures, so they've had a bit of a bump. Would have maybe been nice to have bought them sort of in the under $1,000, but didn't get that chance. Could still come back down, I guess. TSMC have released their monthly revenue. They do monthly revenue sort of announcements as well as the quarterly reports, which is quite nice. I think last June was sort of quite a good month for them. So this June was sort of 18% up on last year, where sort of previous months have been 30, 40, and even 65% up. I think May was on last year, but still pretty good. I sort of hate to say I wouldn't mind seeing July's numbers now, so that'd be another month to wait. But yeah, that's sort of up 5.8% on the week. So I think they were sort of buoyed by Samsung's good news as well, and then sort of their good news towards the end of the week. So might wait and see if that one comes down a little more. Shell sort of weathering the drop in oil price, which is quite good. I think natural gas has sort of been all over the place. Keep getting pings on Trading212, trying to get you to buy some ETF or CFDs probably. You have to just ignore that. Sony barely moved really, 1%. Stellantis not really moved a huge amount, although, well, yes, actually, I think that's just a sort of incorrect showing really from last week's price. So it's actually up sort of 9% odd from sort of lows during the week. Probably should have considered buying then again, but we'll see. Might come down again. Taylor Wimpey hasn't seen any sort of bounce, continuing to come down. Probably considering buying this maybe in the next week. We'll see what happens. Tyson holding up reasonably well. Again, this is one that's on the chopping block. No pun intended for a meat company. Vale barely moved really. Again, sort of lower mid-13s sort of during the week, up to 14. So it's a bit of a move. It's not 0.78%. And VW 5.7, yeah, similar to Porsche. Tesla, interesting, 10% up on the week. It looks like Elon has pulled out of the Tesla deal. The Twitter deal, sorry. So I guess Tesla fans will see that as positive. It's not sort of putting the exposure on his shares. So interesting. Notice I'm actually down on the stock, but up on FX impact. So obviously you're holding positions in dollars, not in pounds. So we're seeing that depreciation in the pound and sort of not being exposed to it by being in US stocks. So that's quite a positive. So yeah, up overall, but still sort of holding cash, waiting to deploy. So let me know how you guys are doing, and leave your thoughts in comments below. Like and subscribe. See you soon.